I was born in Malt, Alabama, the year of 1928, year of the month 1928.
November.
1928.
November 9th.
Right, November 9th, 1928. And yes, it was very hard times. I got a little older where I could remember and think back. It was grim times. It was a Great Depression that hit. The stock markets all fell out, and there's no money hardly to be had. No jobs. People just sit around that long, forlorn look on their face. I remember so many times. You go by, you see people sitting on the front porch, look like they lost their last friend. Actually, hey, they were hungry. They were hungry people. And we've had people to come up there and knock on the door. Today they'd call them bums. Those people weren't bums. Now, I remember this one came up there one day and knocked on the front door. That's in Vina, when we lived there. He said, "I hate to bother you, so we all in the same shape." He said, "I haven't had anything to eat in several days." He said, "I sure am hungry. Have you got anything that you could spare me?" And my mother said, "Well, if you could eat pot liquor." You know what pot liquor is?
Mm-hmm.
That is
From the greens,
the
right?
juice part, or the water part after the mustard greens or turnip greens or whatever, is or even collard greens. It'd be all the same thing. They call it pot liquor.
Mm-hmm.
It had no alcohol to it. It was just that taste of that greens used to be in that. And then she said, "I had some leftover cornbread in there." She said, "Oh, if I could just get some of that, I'd be so grateful." So my mother said, "Well, you come on in." She said, "No, I'll sit right here, ma'am, if you don't mind." You see, he didn't want to go ahead and be like he's going to come in the house like that.
Mm-hmm.
He sat there on the front doorsteps. And she brought me a bowl out there. He said, "This is the best eating I've ever had." You just wolf it that down, just wolf it down. And she said, "Do you want some more?" He said, "Oh, ma'am," I said, "You've been more than gracious to me already. I appreciate it so much. Words cannot explain how grateful I am to you for fixing me that meal." So that was a superior meal. He said, "No, it's leftovers." But those leftovers was a superior meal. He said, "Is that your wood pile out there?" She said, "Yes." "What do you use that for?" I said, "Well, I cook on that on the stove here. In the cold weather, we use that to heat up the house in the fireplace." He said, "I'll be back in a few minutes." And they were cut in sections, but they hadn't been split. To make it real prime cooking wood, they'd take an axe and split those things into pieces. One big log like this, you split chunks off that to begin with, and you can make a bunch of different pieces there to put
Get more use out of it.
Right. So, that man came back across there just about 15, 20, 30 minutes there. I can't remember the time. Had a big armload of that stuff there. He'd been out there chopping, working on that. Brought that back. He said, "Where are you going to put this, ma'am?" She said, "Oh, you didn't have to do that." I said, "Yes, I did. I wanted to help you. You was nice to me. I wanted to be nice to y'all." That's my crude way of saying thanks.
See, that's great because, a lot of people today, they would just,
There were people hard on the luck.
they wouldn't, but they wouldn't, if you gave them something like that, they probably wouldn't even do anything,
I know.
For you like that. That's great.
So he that was his way of paying back. And we all wished him. Said, "I hope you good luck down the road, sir."
So y'all were sharecroppers, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Did you ever have any times when, you didn't really have a whole lot of food and, you might...
Yes, I'll tell you how low we got. We always had cornbread because we raised the corn. And in Vina, they had a grist mill. It was actually a horse-drawn boom that turned these big flat wheels made out of rocks there. They had little slices across them. And they'd pour those grains of corn across that, and that mule would walk around and around like that. This one was a movable one, and another was a stationary. And this moving one, that mule would bring around on that boom like that, would catch up that corn and grind that corn into cornmeal.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would fall back down, they'd catch it in bags like that. And the only pay they wanted was, they'd take part of the meal, pay for their time and trouble. And then the rest of it, they put in a bag and we bring it home with us as cornmeal.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had any lard or grease to cook with, we had to make that too from hog killing. We'd render that. You know what they call it, rendering? What you would do, you would boil the fat parts of the hog, which you didn't want to eat all that fat meat. But you'd boil it, hook it up, and it'd cook all that grease out of that. It's oily looking grease would fall out, and they'd catch that, and they'd put it up in jars and containers. That was what they called lard.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of lard?
Yeah, yeah.
It's about like what they call it Crisco right now. It would be a better form of lard, but
Yeah.
that was a crude form of lard, and we'd cook with that. Okay. Sometimes we'd have cornbread left over. Didn't have nothing to eat except just plain cornbread. My mom would go in and make what they call is red gravy. She would melt some of that lard back down into a liquid and stir it. And I don't remember where it got its red texture. I guess it's like it got hot and everything, like it was kind of getting well done and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Stir that around. And you take that and pour some of that on that cornbread.
Hmm.
That was our meal.
Wow.
And it kept us alive. Of course, at times we had chickens. Other times we had to go and sell the eggs because we didn't have no way of making any money.
And just like you were telling me about the sauerkraut too.
Yeah, right.
Well, in those 55, did you say 55 gallon?
I think about like a 55 gallon barrel there. 55 gallon.
And that would last y'all for a long time.
Barrel.
That would last y'all for a long time.
Yeah.
And
But you know what a hoe is? The way my daddy would do it, you take big heads of cabbage like so, you know, several inches across like that. And he would take those and put them down in that barrel. And it's just like a hoe, except the hoe is like this for hoeing and chopping up grass and stuff like that. But he had that blade straightened out like this. And here was the handle up here. You'd take that and reach down there, have that thing real sharp. You just take and go through that cabbage like that. Just keep chopping it up like that. Chop it up. Chop, chop, chop. That's really sauerkraut is in a bunch of little fine strings like it. It's chopped up cabbage. Chop, 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 chop. And then he'd put his canvas back over the top of it. Now, canvas is like a bag or a piece of cloth like that to keep any foreign intruders from getting in there. You didn't want anything in there except the kraut.
mm-hmm.
And let it start souring and fermenting, and you can see it start going bloop, 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 bloop. It brought that stage, if a person wanted to go experiment and drink slightly, it probably made you drunk. But that's German made like the Germans made their sauerkraut.
Yeah.
And it's sour. It's been through the fermenting and sour stage.
Yeah.
That's basically how you make whiskey and wine.
Right.
So we'd pour that on the cornbread. That was our meal.
Wow. So you ate a lot of different things with cornbread. You ate a lot of different things with cornbread then.
Oh yeah, right.
Because that was like your staple in a way, kind of like a milk in a way, you know, like a
Yeah,
commodity.
buttermilk.
Yeah.
There's not much used to keep in a way, because sweet milk is what you really want to keep more than you would buttermilk. But I like buttermilk better than I did sweet milk.
Mm-hmm.
And you could crunch up a little bit of that cornbread in that buttermilk. Man, that was good eating.
I think
You'd eat with a big spoon like that and just whoop it down.
I think if I'm correct, I think Elvis used to eat something like that, and he'd call it soaks.
Call it what?
He'd call it soaks.
Soak?
S-O-A-K-S.
Oh, soaks?
Yeah, like you know.
They soak his cornbread.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what. I think so. I mean, considering.
Elvis would be our kind of people. So way he talked is probably the way we talk, basically.
Yeah, from.
Pretty
But
much the same.
there was so I mean, you had how many people were in your family?
There were 6 of us, counting my mom and daddy,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 2 brothers, or two
That was-
sons, and 1 sister.
What were Tulin and
Well, okay, there's 3 sons. Okay,
Yeah.
I got back. It's me, and Tulin, and Freed, and Armel.
Uh-huh.
4 kids. So there's 6 member family. It's 4 kids and 2 parents.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, even, I mean, that's a big family,
Yep.
so it must have been, I mean, everyone had to do the work, right? I mean, everyone probably had to get out there in the field and work probably, right?
Oh yeah, from the oldest down to the youngest. I was just a little boy, yeah. Oh, I can remember just like it yesterday. I had eyes, and if I could see a big glow across the horizon, okay, bear in mind, this is farm country. They grew corn, and they grew cotton, and that was the 2 big inflammables. It would really be, if that woods fire would have come that way, it'd have wiped that farm completely out. It just went across it just like that, and it'd be gone. And that was your livelihood. You didn't want to burn your garden up. You didn't want to get in your barn. You could have burnt your barn down. That's where you kept your animals at. In the storage, you extra animal feed, which is corn shucks, corn stalks, and as much corn as we can pour out to feed those animals with too. Hogs and the horses. So they had to eat too. They helped us alive, helped us to keep us alive. We had to keep them alive, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to get back to the fire now. And if a kid would spot a glow across the horizon, you'd first warn your parents real quick. You'd be yelling, fire, 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 and get to spread the alarm. And you'd point the way it is like that. And there was farms all around us there, different people. Some of them was huge farms, maybe hundreds of acres like that. And if that fire would have gotten loose inside that, it'd have been desperate times. It was already bad times, but it'd been desperate times then. Because there wasn't any kind of a food source or money source for the whole year. It'd have been going
Terrible.
So, what would happen? We would split up and scream fire to all the neighbors and point where it is like that. And us kids could run like a gazelle. We'd run to this neighbor, fire, 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 and fire, 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 And that's all teamwork, even the little kids. They'd cut them a little piece of a bush like that, like a cedar tree or a little pine tree. You'd cut that off at the bottom, and guess what? That was what you would hit that fire with. You would attack that fire with that. You start beating it out like that, beating it out, and that would cause all the combustibles to get spread out like that, and finally the fire would be gone in that area. And all families, regardless of the oldest to the youngest, would fight in fires.
So there was no local fire department or anything like that. They would not even volunteer. It was just all a community effort to try to save it.
Community effort.
Wow. So I mean, when other bad things would happen, was it a pretty tight knit town? I mean, when people,
yeah.
like if there was, did everyone pretty much know everyone? Was that kind of the way it was?
We knew each other by first names,
Wow.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they were good people, and some of them were pretty raunchy that you didn't want to associate with too much. But now there's a local preacher. His last name was Burns. His first name was Ben. No relation to our Burns.
Oh, okay.
And us boys, beasts were hard to come by. We'd go out and hunt at night. We had a hound dog, a tree of coon, or sometimes a rabbit up a tree. And I'll tell you how a rabbit gets up a tree. But we'd save those meats really, and that was our food stay. In other words, we depend on that. You'd cook those rabbits down, or squirrel and rabbit and fish, anything you could get like that, and sometimes a coon. And that'd help keep you alive, keep your family alive. But we got out there in the deep woods and we got turned around. We got lost. We didn't know which way was east, west, north, and south. Way across the hills like that. It's not real mountains, but it's hilly country like that. we heard Ben Burns. At night, he'd get there at dark. He'd say, hey, brother, you keep the commandments, you keep the commandments. Hey, brother, keep the commandments, keep the commandments, like that, you know. He was a little bit, you know, kind of, you know, like that, you know. And everybody thought he was crazy, but he cut loose that night. We didn't know which way to go to get out of them woods. We was lost. And when we heard Bill Burns, that we know where it is, and we know where we're at now. That's over there in Vina. That's where he is over there. So we right here. So we not lost as we thought we were. So our house must be back over this way somewhere. So we backtracked. There it was.
Wow.
Ben Burns' prayer saved us.
So they would have like was he one of those tent evangelists? Like they would have like tent meetings.
He was a self-made one. He thought.
But they didn't have like a building.
No,
They just like meet out in the field.
Minstrel.
Was he so he'd travel around them?
He's traveled around Vina.
Did y'all ever go to any of his services?
He wasn't no services. He just go around. Hey, brothers, you keep the commandments. Keep the commandments. That's all he'd ever preach. You keep the commandments. And he come up with one year they was shooting firecrackers, and everybody didn't hate him, but they didn't really respect him.
Yeah.
He made a mistake coming up here. Hey, brother, you keep the commandments. One of them was just a little firecracker. So they used to put the firecracker in.
Oh.
Boom, like that. He said, oh, yeah. He shook his head like that. He thought that was terrible, you know. That's terrible.
Was it Bill Burns or Ben?
Bill Burns.
Okay. Wow. Who are some other people that were, you know, kind of interesting that you remember, you know, from when you lived there?
Yeah.
Were there any people?
Marlis and Arnie.
Who?
Marlis and Arnie. Marlis and Arnie. His name was the male, and his wife was Arnie, and he was the head of the family. It was Marlis Williams, Marlis and Arnie Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They were our closest friends, basically. They were just down on the hill from us. And they were just as watchful for us as what we were for them. And these Alabama storms, it's a bad storm, but they call it a sturm in Alabama. They wouldn't pronounce it storm. And the clouds would start boiling, and see they're getting worse and worse, and worse and worse, and worse and worse. And both of them were quite a bit younger than my parents. And Boris would come up there. Hey, my daddy's name was Pinkney, Adrian Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, instead of calling him Pink, most Alabamans would pronounce it Pink. And he said, Pink? So that's a bad looking storm coming up there, says, up there. Says, you think maybe we better get in y'all cellar and weather it out? Why, sure, come on up. We've been wondering when you're going to come up here. Said, well, we thought we could come up here and spit it out, and we'd weather it out with you. Well, come on up here. So we'd all crawl down in that cellar. It was a cellar under the ground that come angle-wise off the house, like as a wooden walled house.
Mm-hmm.
And the water would drain here, and we had it where it drained away from the house like that. And it had a tin top on it like that. And you could raise that lid up like this and prop it open to put all your vegetables and stuff in there. Your canned goods. And they'd take potatoes and line the wall with it. And it's cool down there. And the sweet potatoes and the Irish potatoes, in other words, the spuds. You know the difference?
Yeah.
One's a sweet one, the other one is just like they make French fries.
Yeah, yeah.
We'd have the walls lined with those. And we also had jar after jar after jar after jar of foods that we had canned during the good part of the year to get us through some of the hard part of the year. So you always try to look out for the bad days. And so Tom and Mama, she would take some of the hog, when we was butchering the hogs here, and she'd cook it up. It's stewed pork. And she'd put that in that jar and preserve it. And then over here, we'd give some up to our neighbors once in a while. That's the best pork I've ever eaten. And it was so tasty, so good, it just melted in your mouth there.
So I guess you could say that if y'all were stuck down there in that cellar for a long time, you'd be just fine.
Yeah, you'd have things to eat. You could eat raw sweet potatoes,
Yes,
raw Irish potatoes, and if you got really bad, desperate, you could open up one of them cans of food, jars of food. It was in the cannon, what do you call it?
We had preserves.
Yeah, you preserve it into a pressure cooker. I can't think of the name of it now. But anyway, it would last you through a long time. Gets out, back into good times again, good months again. And we had to pack our water from Spring, which is down under the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Spring, did I tell you anything about that?
I think so, but you can tell me again.
It's right out of the hills. Don't tell me where it came from because it's awfully cold water. And so we'd go down there, and what they had to preserve the water that people could go down and dip the buckets in it and get all the water they wanted, it's for all to take right there. All the neighbors around it, we kept it cleaned out and stuff like that. And clean the water where it drained on down under. You didn't want to plug the well out. It was actually like I can't think what they call that. Would be well, it was a storage place. Though it was we got a name for it.
Like a cistern?
Cistern. That's what it was, like a cistern. But it just barely catch that water coming out of that hill like that. And once it gets full over, of course you couldn't do about that. It'd run over and on down the creek, not the creek, a little branch, go on down. And we'd have to walk down there and take a couple of buckets with us like that. And we'd scoop, and back up the hill and take it home with us. So we cooked out of that, we bathed with it, and drank it. So that was a pretty precious thing. We'd keep the water buckets pretty well full.
Did that spring have a name?
No, it's just a spring. A spring is a small little creek. It's a miniature creek. It runs pretty swift, water is bubbling from quite a distance like that. It may be coming from miles, back up in the high country like that. And you run on through it, it's perfectly filtered. By the time it gets to us, it's clean water, and also cold, and very tasty water.
Y'all lived on a main road though, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was called?
Well, it's
It was Route something.
Route 1, I think.
Route 1.
I believe it's Route 1.
I think that's probably called something else today though.
I can't remember that, but it was just a clay road. Had a mixture of clay, which is red clay,
Yeah.
and pebble stones. And it would be very supportive of even heavy equipment. Mule teams, wagon would go over it, and also car traffic, and also truck traffic, and also motorcycles once in a while. It's a pretty good road, but it's made out of just local material.
What direction from the town was that?
That's Vina.
What direction from it, like east or west?
East-west is where.
It was east?
Well, it was actually east from Vina.
East from Vina.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a railroad that had a culvert right under it, and it might have been part of that spring, but I think it was even colder. It run under the railroad, and it's fairly deep. That's where all of us brothers and neighborhood boys would go out there. We'd strip our clothes off and go in there and just about freeze to death for a few minutes to learn to swim. We'd get in that cold water, and we'd come out of there, our teeth would be chattering. Like it's so cold like that. You feel your mouth just going up and down and chattering, because you've got to be cold when your mouth starts doing that. So during the summertime, we'd say, hey, let's go up to the refrigerator. Go up to the refrigerator and do a little swimming. So hey, we'd walk down the railroad, pretty good walk down there, and jump off that place. And the first time when you hit it, you go, like that, it's so cold, take your breath away. Me as one, and 2 or 3 others almost get drowned going there.
Oh man.
It was deep, and once you started having trouble, you could drown it real easy, real quick. We had a swimming dog paddle, like this. we'd go like this under the water, like a dog swimming like that. They don't swim like people do, on top of the water like that, you know.
Right.
The dog paddle is like this, under the water, and you propel yourself along.
How often would y'all go down there?
Well, as often as we could, but we didn't have that much leisure time.
Had to work. You had to work a lot.
Yeah, I had to work a whole lot. Yeah. But even during rainy time, we had something else to do. We had the barn out there where it stored our valuable commodities, black-eyed peas and corn. There's dried ears of corn in that barn, stacked up in the corn crib, part of that barn.
Mm-hmm.
And we use that for people food. We get some of it out periodically and take it into town. We'd shell it out like that, take the shucks off, the corn shucks off it, the cover off it, and take it to town. They had a way that they could just chip all that corn off that, you know, and then they put it through the grinder. It's the big roller stone like that. It's actually ground, stone ground.
Mm-hmm.
You heard of stone ground flowers? And
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was primitive. Horse-drawn.
Or
I got to tell you something.
yeah.
My favorite horse. My daddy had lost one, and he bought this horse. She always had a crippled front leg, and she had a little trouble. She was a hard-working old mule. That's what a horse. And a hard-working old mule. I mean, she was hard-working. And the poor thing, she got down real sick.
Oh.
Like cholera. It's probably cholera, probably. And my daddy had got the vet to come out and look at her. He said there's no hope for her. She's going to die. Said she's got it so bad she'll never recover from this. And her name was Emma. And I called her Emma. And that mule loved me and I loved her. And when I found out, my daddy told the vet to come on up there and be merciful, give her a shot to put her out of her misery. And we'd do that and get her, like to say, well, it's ending her misery. And it was. And I got there and I cried to that old mule like that. I said, Emmer, you better get up. They're going to come and kill you, Emmer. They're going to come and kill you. I'd cry my eyes out. So that mule, like she knew what I'd say it to her. I said, Emmer, they're going to kill you. Get up, please. And I'd beat her on the front. You know, I got the old mule stand up there.
Oh,
a while,
wow.
you know? So, but hey, she's hopeless. There's hopeless. She was bad, sick.
Yeah.
But she was a hard-working mule. I remember times I'd be riding her out of the field, and she had that crippled front knee, and she kind of stumbled, and she fell one time. And I know she hurt herself to keep from pinning my legs. She put herself in jeopardy to keep from rolling on my legs, because my legs was on both sides of her like that, and she rolled a little bit on that slope, like where she lost her balance. And it didn't really hurt her that time, but months and months later, she got sick, you know, put down. And it was heartbreaking to a little farm boy seeing her horse or a mule die, you know. Of course, that stuff they gave her, she didn't really suffer any pain like that. She just went to sleep, never woke up.
Well,
We buried her.
y'all had you had a dog named Jack too, right?
And what?
A dog named Jack.
Yep, that's a fact. And you know what? You won't believe this. We brought that dog from Alabama with us.
Brought him to Tampa.
All the way to Dade City.
Oh,
We were
okay.
moving to Florida.
Wow.
And we was going to bring her on the Greyhound bus all the way to Florida. We were just dumb hicks. We didn't know that. That bus driver said, I'm sorry. You can't take that dog on this bus. without it being in a cage, you know, it was like that, because we'd be liable if that dog would get spooked and like and bite one of our customers and everything. So I had to stay in Vina, and all my other people had already come down to Day City.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was really. Well, I'd go meet my daddy into Russellville. That's the town way north. That was.
What was it?
Russellville.
Uh-huh.
So he said, "I'll meet you up there." I said, "You catch the bus up there." He gave me enough money to go ahead and have a fare to get up there. And he said, "You see if you can get." This is my friend, this is a blacksmith, local blacksmith. I used to go down and turn his bellows for him like that. We were good friends and everything. And to help get that dog a cage built, because we'd had to just turn him loose because we wanted to take him to Florida with us, because he was a good provider of meat, rabbits and stuff. And he'd run a rabbit until the rabbit escaped up a holler tree. The tree was rotted and had a big hole in it. The squirrels and stuff would go up in there, and also rabbits and something that would chase them real bad. And when that dog would run a rabbit up in there, what they would do, they'd put the feet on the sides like that,
Mm-hmm.
and push themselves up in that holler tree. They may be 6 or 7 feet off the ground.
Wow.
Push up that holler tree. The poor old rabbit, but we were desperate for food. We'd go in and cut us a long stick that would just reach up into where that rabbit was. We'd feel up in there, we'd feel that rabbit make a move against that stick. We'd pull the hound away. We'd take that stick, twist it just a little bit, and get caught up in the rabbit's fur. Slowly we'd pull the rabbit down. We'd get the rabbit, we'd mercifully kill it, and take it home for food.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds real brutal.
It's what you had to do, though.
But you know, it was starvation.
Not like you had a grocery store you could just go to.
That's right. We had them, but we couldn't.
But yeah,
there was some.
they probably had an A&P around there, right?
Well, there was a country store up in Day City. I can't remember what it was now. It was. It's pretty simple. They have bananas, things like that. I think you get some breads and some canned goods, but it was pretty poorly stocked.
Well, before I just want to ask you one more thing before we can go ahead and call it quits.
Okay.
What do you remember when you lived in Vina? Do you remember like some different places that you frequented? I mean, I know you didn't live there that long, but I mean, what are some things that you remember about the town?
Yeah. I've already told part of it, but I'll tell it. That was a different concept, but this was real too. I'd hang around the blacksmith shop
Mm-hmm.
because he was my friend. I'd go in there and I'd help him in the way I could, stuff like that. I was just a little farm boy, and I was so amazed at watching him shape those metals. He'd heat those metals up and do miracles with that heated metal. And he'd let me turn his bellows. That's where he got the heat from it. He had coal in that, and he'd get that coal real hot, and then that bellows would be blowing another source of air continuously on that. And I mean, it made something hot. You could melt with it,
Wow.
but you didn't want to melt it. You want to get red hot enough that you could, it'd be malleable then. You could shape it to the shape that you wanted to melt it. But he would take, he was trying to put metal rims around a horse-drawn wagon. The way they would get that rim on there, they would make the wooden wheel, and then they would take and beat out a round circle of steel and pin it together with pegs of steel that you could flatten out. It's like would be a fastener. In other words, it put those two pieces of steel together. But you'd get it hot. You wouldn't want to get it red hot, but you'd heat it up with that anvil. I mean that bellows.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to be real quick. You get a couple of people, that big rim like this over that wooden wheel. You put it down over that wooden wheel, and then here comes the cold water. You chill it just that quick because you don't want to burn your wood up. So what that was doing, that was causing that steel to expand when you heat it. So you could get over that wooden wheel easily. But then when you put the water to it, it wasn't hot no more. You're getting cold, shrinking up. And guess what it's doing? That steel rim was right around that wooden wheel. And I mean, you couldn't knock it off of there. It was on there. It's a horse-drawn wagon. And they would carry loads of rock, sand, any major loads, and full of farm commodities and stuff. Loads of cotton taken into the gin. The gin is where they take it in the first stage. They chew the seed out of it. Because the seed is valuable. They use that to make stock foods and different things out of those cotton seeds. And there's a little bit extra money back, you know, that they'd keep that, you know, price of gin in it. It had thing like on the big wheel like that. It's like it's combs that would go through that cotton. And it pull all the seed out like that.
Well, that's kind of like that. Was that called a harvester? Because I know back
The real name for it was a gin.
Yeah,
Cotton gin.
like Cyrus McCormick
Yeah.
invented that
Yeah.
late 1700s. That basically revolutionized the cotton industry.
Right.
It's different before that.
Well, we could go ahead and make anything metal with that bellows. And he could actually take and weld another plow point on it. If it got under a rock and it broke it, and he could take another piece of iron about the same thickness. He knew exactly what to get, and partly heat it. And he'd start beating that with his big hammers over that anvil like that, and it's red hot, both of them red hot. And he was putting both of them together. Every time he got through doing that several times, it was like one solid piece of iron. In other words, there was that plow point back on there again. Then you had to go ahead and sharpen it up and reshape it. But he could do that, all that kind of work.
Do you remember what his name was?
McKinney. McKinney was his last name.
McKinney?
Yeah, McKinney. He like to scare him to death. The neighbor had loaned my dad one of his horses. There was a horse. It wasn't a mule. A horse is a little bit more feisty than a mule. He said, "Son, you think you could take this here load of corn, this here bag of corn into Vina and get it ground up in the mill?" "Oh, yes, sure." I didn't say that. Oh, it's a piece of cake, you know. We didn't talk like that back then. I said, "I know I can, Dad." He said, "Just be careful." I said, I will. So, what nobody told me was, it's a cardinal sin. If that horse don't know you too well, they're easily spooked. And when I came back to put that bag of meal on that horse's back, I walked right around it. The horse had hooves that big on it. And he hauled off and kicked me right here, right in the midsection of my stomach, right here. No real major doctors nowhere around, in a long ways and everything. And no way to call my daddy. We had no phones. And he said, "Well, I'll help you get the meal back on the horse, but actually, you spooked the horse." I said, "Yeah, that's a dumb trick. I'm just a kid. I wasn't used to that horse. The horse wasn't used to me." He said, "Now you got it." He said, "You're thinking like a man now." I said, "I sure thank you for your help." He says, "You're welcome." He says, "You go on home now. You ought to tell your daddy about that when you get home." I get thinking, tell my daddy and let him know what a punk kid I am.
No.
He's gonna think I ain't nothing but a goofy kid. I let a horse, I walked around behind a strange horse, and he kicked me in my belly. And I was even dumber because before I got to the house, I was coughing up spitting blood. But you know, I never did tell my daddy that until just before he died.
Wow.
I was just a farm boy, and I thought, well, he's going to think I'm nothing but a punk kid. Immature, not thinking. I wasn't thinking, but not telling him that I got kicked in the belly with that mule. I could have died in my sleep that night.
I mean, was that time that we went to Vina, you know, was that the first time that you had been there in a long time?
That was it, right.
Yeah. So
I saw that writing up there, and I said, I know where I'm at now. That was a store, the Malta store there, and I can't remember now the name of it.
The what?
It's like a grocery store and a drugstore and all that combined in there, basically.
Yeah.
It's right there on Main Street, Vina.
And then there was a bank, right? The
Right,
bank
there's a
building.
bank
That's
there.
still there.
Yeah.
I've noticed that where that bank is now, it looks like there used to be other buildings next to it, but they're not there anymore.